Mr. Blake, let's track this back to profit, because all of the things you're talking about there are innocuous problem, not dealt with, gets worse and worse and worse over time when you don't notice the change. And then suddenly what you have is you have a chronic problem. Now, if we look at that in terms of profit, where people are going, people have a problem where they don't look at their profit and their pricing at the very beginning. They don't look at how they manage those processes. They then go through their entire business. Really, you talk about weight gain from not doing exercise. Well, what's the mental and emotional bloat of actually not getting your profit sorted and not getting your finances sorted? What's the burnout rate? And I've been talking to people recently about burnout in podiatry amongst other professions. And how does not getting your finances and profit at the very beginning and then bringing that all the way through, how does that poor practice actually lead to you having real struggles later on? Because it will track back.
This is the Justin Blake podcast experience for health professionals that mean business. So wherever you are in the world, listen as we discuss everything you need for you and your health business to survive and thrive. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, there's a lot of historical stuff.
There's a lot of historical. Sorry, everybody, a little bit late. Dave and I were just putting the world to rights. Yeah, though that it definitely needs change, and quickly, pretty quickly. I mean, I'm sure the what do you call that scheme out of Portsmouth or Plymouth, where the
apprenticeship.
The apprenticeship. I'm sure that course has changed. There must be some structure in that course, but I have to make some benchmarks for, because I was speaking to somebody, our mutual friend in the Southwest, and she was saying that she wasn't able to avail of that because she was a small practice. So you had to have 2 clinicians or something. But I mean, that's pretty, if you're an extended scope practitioner, say you went and worked with our friend Abbott in Birmingham, he was going to take an apprenticeship. You'd be getting a lot different apprenticeship there than you would be if somebody was just doing routine every day. I mean, just based on practice size, seems a little bit odd. But anyway, that's enough ramblings about the society. That's enough ramblings about podiatry stuff.
I was just here for the decaf. So
that's the other meeting with the pitchforks and the torches. So apparently Celia isn't able to join us today. She's feeling unwell somewhere in Cheadle. She had a bad salmon last night. Well, I had a friend recently who had a similar thing. Sandra, she ended up in hospital on a drip. It's because she was pregnant. She ended up with a little bit of a dodgy, don't know. So again, it was salmon. I think she had a salmon pasta the night before. Anyway, feeling very unwell, very sick for a day, got dehydrated, so off to the hospital. Everything's fine now. But yeah, it can be pretty food poisoning. I think I've only ever had it once, and I've never been back to that sandwich again.
I think we've got Mr. T watching this morning.
Mohammed, morning.
Tausif. Good morning, Tausif. How you doing, mate? You well?
We'll need to check. Well, I don't know. Should we be on Instagram? Well, I don't think it couldn't be ours. It's too much hassle at the moment. Anyway, don't know where Kate is either. So it's just myself and I, the Follically Challenge fellas. We're supposed to be talking about the pillars of painless practice. I mean, I should be getting commission on this, or we should. Today we're talking all about profit, apparently. And what do they say? Turnover's vanity, profit is sanity.
So they say.
So they say. Because, as we said, we talked before, various discussions with, you can be a busy fool. You can think you're being very busy. And Simon Dixon's on. Hi, Simon. You can be very busy.
Simon, morning.
You can be very busy and think that you're doing well, and then you're not. You end up with 200, 300 euros in the bank account on the Friday before Christmas. Oh, here's Kate. They're all fashionably late though these days.
Sorry. Good morning. Good morning.
That. Yeah.
She had to do her hair this morning. Come on, it's we don't understand, mate.
Blown dry and groomed and Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. All right. Okay.
Tea. You've got a flask of tea. Can I have mine?
Sorry.
I broke my cafetiere, so I have to keep it warm in here.
You've been out on your bike, Dave. Out your bike for your walk this morning. Yeah, good on you.
Bike this morning in the dark. That was fun. 16 miles, I think, this morning.
Oh, well done you. Well done,
Yeah.
I've done no tennis. Yeah. Been ultrasounding my leg though.
Don't worry, I've done no tennis either, so we're both on the same track then.
Yeah, I'm getting very, very bored.
I've joined your club. I've joined your club of being an invalid.
What happened?
It was my birthday on Monday, and as a birthday treat, we went to the climbing wall on Saturday.
Yeah.
Bloody dislocated my shoulder.
What?
I know.
Was that unfingered hold you've been perfecting?
No, but it wasn't in that position. It wasn't
Really?
in that position.
And what, you slip?
No, I did it in March. I fell at the ice rink in March, and I know I haven't done my rehab as rigorously as I should have during this whole lockdown stuff. And I just swum with my exercises and gym. I haven't done the volume I needed to. And I knew going to the climbing wall was going to be a test for it, but I didn't for a moment think that. Anyway, I've been at the tower once, and then with Gabriel and a friend, and Gabriel had been up it a few times, and he was just making a cheeky remark because my friend just got part way up. I'm like, stop this. I can do this. I'm in my 40s, but I can bloody get up that tower again. I did the route, and as I was about 2 meters from the top, and the holds were getting further and further away. I had this feeling, turn around, but the competitive part of me was like, if I turn around and go back down, I know I'm going to have to go up it again. So just bloody well finish this off, then you don't have to go back up it again. And I just over reached out here, and just
Right. How did you get you down?
I've done it. I was on the auto belay thing, so it just brought me straight down as soon as I let go of the wall. And
Did you have to do that thing like they do in all those action movies where you've got your shoulders out and you have to bang it against a wall and make horrendous amounts of noise?
Well, something that somebody in A&E did that for me, didn't they?
Do they do the kind of the pull and the twist and then?
I really swore though. I really swore when they put it back pulling it out and the other person's behind you, and the person behind you caught my hair. My hair was in a ponytail, but it caught my hair. And when they'd finished, once it was back in, I swore blue murder at him. I had to apologise afterwards. I'm so sorry, but.
Sorry, are you? Is that arm which arm is it? Is it your left arm? Are you in a brace?
No. Well, yes, of course I'm wearing my sling all the time, Dave. Yes, I'm wearing my sling all the time. Yes, all the time I'm wearing my sling.
You are talking to an ex-A&E nurse who's dealt with these things before. You need to look after that. There is actually a great story about a young lad from A&E who dislocated his shoulder. We had to use ketamine at the time to put him back in. This is years ago. He came around from the ketamine in a drug state and asked me a very, very rude question, which obviously I'm not going to say on this call because we're professionals. So I'll tell you that one later.
It was like my friend Dominic that texted me a thing on Saturday night that he wouldn't want to say on the call. Don't know whether you saw that. I had to take it down. But he was just a post-op with his hip replacement. He was a little bit worse for wear. I thought it was quite a good interview, but his job prospects apparently weren't going to be helped by it. He was a bit out of it. Did they give you? Sounds awful, Kate. I mean, when did you last do it?
Really was.
How long you couldn't cook a birthday cake?
I had birthday cake on Sunday, and
you couldn't cut it. You had to get somebody else to cut it.
I managed to cut it with my left hand. I managed to cut it. It's going to sound very the time, but it's tiring wearing it all the time. So I'm not wearing it all of the time. Is the answer to what you asked, Dave.
I scanned my other leg. I actually scanned my other calf where it's a little bit sore. There is a little tear in it. But I'm sure if I could scan everywhere, there'd be little tears and pulls and all sorts of things. I must do it. And the chef friend's got a bit of a wrist problem, so he's coming around later today. But to get it scanned, it's great. The whole of the village will be here getting scanned over the next few weeks once word gets out. It's
yes, I really should have done it better. But what I was going to say, Dave, was I received some bike lights for my birthday because it's getting so much darker, isn't it? So It's getting really noticeably darker if we can't kid ourselves in the summer.
We were talking about profit, Kate.
And we're talking about it. Jolly good.
Oh, Kate has the spreadsheets. Come on, Kate. Come on. This is Kate. This is Kate's thing. Come on, Kate.
Yeah, well, we've already been through this.
Have you? We already been through the profit chapter.
Where you were fashionably late. Where are you?
2 minutes late. 2 minutes late. 3 minutes.
So, Kate, come on, Kate. Get in there.
7:30. Come on.
The thing for clinicians is to understand that ethically, you need to be making a profit. It is not ethical not to be making profit. So in the same way as financial services have an ethical framework whereby they're focusing less, they've got to remember to focus on people, I think exactly the reverse needs to occur in healthcare, and we need to make sure we focus on the financials too, because it's important that the decisions we're making are for the health and benefit of the client, the health and benefit of the community, and of the business. It is unethical to be, unless you've chosen to run a charity or you've chosen to go bankrupt or chosen to go broke, it is not ethical not to be making profit. Because if that business is not healthy, then you're stressed, you're not healthy, and you can't serve more and more people. And I think that we, as clinicians, can undervalue ourselves we just undervalue ourselves. Don't put enough focus on what the impact is that we actually make on people's lives. So for me, profit is actually more about business ethics than, the spreadsheets are there and I like them and whatever, but it's about business ethics and making sure that your business is healthy, you're healthy, your clients and community are healthy. So you're not making profit at the expense of screwing your community. You're making sure you're looking after what's good for the client, what's good for the community and profession, and what's good for the health of the business for you.
Yeah, I mean,
we had a discussion right at the beginning of, not the beginning of COVID, but when people started going back to work and they were looking at their costings for PPE, and the question wasn't should I put my prices up? That was a pretty clear answer. But people were going, well, how do I talk to my patients about it? And one of the things I said was, you say to your patients, if you value my service and you want me here in 6 months' time, then you need to let me maintain my profit so I can still be here in 6 months' time. If I can't do that, then I'll be gone, and then you lose out and I lose out and the community loses out. So it's taking away that almost embarrassment I think people have with talking about money and talking about profit, and actually saying, this is the real cost of things. This is what you would expect to make as a profit, and this is what I'd like to make as a profit because this is the lifestyle I want. And if that doesn't suit you and you don't find my service valuable, then there will be other people you can go and see. But it is having that conversation.
But it's also...
And the majority of the time... Go on, sorry.
You talk. Go on.
The majority of the time, that conversation just has to occur with yourself. Clients don't ask. So each time we had price rises in the clinic, the last few times were £7.50 price rises that go, get like one grumble. It's just like you most of the time you don't need to have the conversation needs to be with yourself. And if you hit the ceiling for your region, for your town, whatever, great. You've hit the ceiling. You know where your prices need to be. And we did. We hit the ceiling, and our VIPs told us. And so we asked, well, what would you like differently? We didn't actually appointment fee. What we did was create more bundles and added more value to what we were buying.
I mean, I think people get worried about the money conversation because they don't know how it should flow. And normally if somebody says, well, that's a bit expensive, but that doesn't mean they can't afford it. And if somebody says or queries the price on a nail surgery or a back care program for 6 months, when they go ask about the money, it means they don't have that money with them today. When they say, or I didn't expect to have to. It never doesn't mean no. It's just a different conversation. I used to be awful at that. Patients coming in to pick up orthotics didn't know how much they were due to pay because I hadn't explained the whole package program properly because I was worried and, afraid of asking them. And I certainly learned how to do that. It's a structured conversation. It's never and then say people are out buying shit. I mean, the reason there's so much debt and there's so much credit card stuff and there's so much higher purchases, that £300 or £400 or £500 pounds, dollars, things that they didn't spend with you today, they're out at the weekend shopping with their credit card, buying another TV, buying another thing, buying stuff on the high street. I mean, the whole retail, the high street is absolutely decimated at the moment. Why? Because the whole thing's built on credit and just shopping. I mean, you know, another shopping centre used to be packed at weekends. People buying shit they didn't need, where they'd been in with the physio, the chiro, the dentist the week before, and had decided not to pay that 500, 1,000, 2,000 to get that long-term back problem sorted out, because they decided, oh, well, we'll just buy another TV or a new phone. They'll be queuing up for the new iPhone soon, but yet they won't pay for a bit of physio, a bit of back care. Bullshit.
Sorry. You had me at new iPhone. Then that was you were just, that was like a carrot just dangled in front of me.
I'm on my fourth screen on this bloody one, and it's going to get, I shouldn't say, it's been insured. It's going to get lost very soon because it's. Justin? Did I ever tell you what the family business was for my dad? It's insurance, but yeah. We're live on wherever we're live around the world. You know, it may get lost soon. You know, don't know. But it hasn't been a good one for me. Anyway, so people will be queuing up for this new one. They'll be spending 1,000 on this rather than spending 100 or 200 on something else. And this is the conversation. And I mean, most people, again, because it's not explained properly, when they get home and they get back in the car, or they go and meet their girlfriends later on that day or that week, who know that you've been waiting to see the physio for 6 months or a year, because that's how long it's taken them to get to your clinic with that chronic problem. And they go, what did he say? Or what did she say? And she said, oh, I don't know. She said it was going to cost 500, 1,000. That's all they remember. You know, they don't remember just to explain it very simply and differently. And give them a little sheet to take away, diagnosis, program, how much it's going to cost over how long. Because all they remember is blah, 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 500.
And if you're not making a profit, you may as well be working for somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, that long-term sequelae.
That is absolutely fine too.
And if you don't sort it out, take your shoulder. I mean, it's like your shoulder, which will be a chronic instability, and you're going to need a bloody shoulder surgery.
Can I swear at him, Dave?
What's that, sorry?
Can I swear at him?
Of course you can.
Go on, what?
Justin.
But I was just saying, I mean, that's sequelae of the young guy who...
I don't want to hear doom and gloom for my shoulder, thank you.
Okay, but it's not... But
you get the right gait and your shoulder's going to be as good as new.
It's the young person that comes into you in the mid-20s who's had a sports injury and doesn't get it fixed now, and you're seeing them in their 50s or 60s or 70s when that problem could have been fixed or should have been resolved then. I mean, that's all about what we get, all about mechanics about this evening. That's what we talked about the last time. You know, the person in the clinic, 40 or 50 or 60 years of age, it's not how they got them. You've got your symptoms today. It's tracking back to where the problem originated from: the sprained ankle, the twisted this, the stretched knee ligaments. They're all right, mate. I just put a bandage on it and played on. But then I had to stop playing rugby 2 years later, and now I just had to stop my martial arts when I'm 40. And now, but it's not really a bother. Oh, but I've stopped my martial arts and I've put on weight. And I can't do any exercise, but it's not too much bother. And the only reason you're here is because your partner dragged you in. Lucky you didn't see another 6 years' time when that's a straight to surgery. I mean, that's the whole consequence. And we don't lay that out for patients. Dentists do. Do you want the Shane McGowan mouth? Or do you want to get it fixed? I don't want a Shane McGowan mouth.
He's a good singer.
Patients.
I don't know who Shane McGowan is. Who's Shane McGowan?
You found the Pogues. Come on.
Fairy Tale of New York.
Rainy Night in Soho is my favourite, but a lot of other Pogue stuff is unbelievable.
So, Mr. Blake, let's track this back to profit, because all of the things you're talking about there are innocuous problem, not dealt with, gets worse and worse and worse over time when you don't notice the change. And then suddenly what you have is you have a chronic problem. Now, if we look at that in terms of profit, where people are going, people have a problem where they don't look at their profit and their pricing at the very beginning. They don't look at how they manage those processes. They then go through their entire business. Really, you talk about weight gain from not doing exercise. Well, what's the mental and emotional bloat of actually not getting your profit sorted and not getting your finances sorted? What's the burnout rate? And I've been talking to people recently about burnout in podiatry amongst other professions. And how does not getting your finances and profit at the very beginning and then bringing that all the way through, how does that poor practice actually lead to you having real struggles later on? Because it will track back.
Yeah, I mean, that whole, we know the sequelae of your shoulder kit. And if you were a patient, you were to be explaining that to your patient in pretty concise terms. And I think we're worried about that. We're a dentist. We know the consequences of not getting that. Kate's here. No, that's Kate different. There's Shane McGowan, yeah. Add to the stream. That's Shane McGowan. So you don't want to end up like that, do you? No, dentists know that, or people know that. If you go with a toothache, you know the consequences are, if you leave it, it's going to get worse, and the pain's going to get worse, and you're going to get a tooth extracted. And now the dentist wants to lump an implant in at $2,000. He just doesn't want to take it out and throw it on the floor. Now, that's the consequence. But I mean, if we don't explain that, not in a scare tactic way, but the consequences are, I know somebody like you, when they didn't get that fixed, they didn't end up not playing, and they did that.
Now, if I can pull my shoulder out, I'm not going to ski again. I'm not going to climb it. There's so many things. And it was really interesting because on Sunday, friend had said, right, well, that's skiing out, that's this out, that's that out. Sunday, as soon as I saw my mum, my mum laughed first of all. I was like, thanks, mum. But anyway, but she was like, she really was like, Kate, you've got to sort this out because you can't live your life with can't do's. You might have turned 44 and not 24, but you need, that she really understood that to be the whole of me, I have to be able to do all these activities. So I have to really work on this shoulder really properly this time. It did scare me.
Simon wants to know, should healthcare ergonomics be taught at undergraduate level? Of course it should. I mean, people just think, again, we're the health service, we're all health service trained, we think there's no cost. You're mad. I mean, the cost of treating one patient in the health service must be huge, with hospital costs and the lighting, the electricity, the porters, the whole thing, the CSSD, the whole shaboodle for them to sit in front of you. And this is the same with my new podcast that's out. Anybody seen it on Spotify yet? Had a listen
I
live?
did do it because this
No.
long link.
My new Justin Blake's Podiatry Fast Track Clann podcast, if anybody wants to go to Spotify. And
it's a bit of a mouthful there, isn't it? Doesn't really roll off the tongue.
It's just called the Fast Track.
Can you Irish dance, Justin? Can you Irish dance? Can you Irish dance? Can you do Irish dancing?
Yes, of course, can, Kit.
Can we actually just pull it back to Simon's comment, because I think Simon's question is a really, really good one, and I don't think we've done it justice really. The answer, yes, is it should be taught at an undergraduate level, but. What's if we think about it, if you want to go and be a private practitioner and run your own business, then you need to take more focus on that. But if you're an associate within a practice, or if you're working for the NHS and you understand the economics, it means that you work with those businesses in a very different way. I mean, how many times have we heard people who, you've had an associate in your clinic who's then gone, you know what, you're taking 50% of what I bring in. This is easy. I'm going to go off and do it. And then 5 years later, they realize that it ain't easy at all. And that's a really interesting kind of thing. And yeah, absolutely. I'll share actually a very, very quick story from, there's lots of work going on at the moment with the Foot Health Consortium looking to bring all different people and foot health training bodies in together in one place. And there was a webinar they ran earlier this year, I think March this year, just when COVID hit. And there was a conversation going on in the chat. And I was chatting with a couple of people who were service managers, and one of them, we said, well, private practice isn't really mentioned within this, and it really needs to be considered because most of our profession, podiatry, is in private practice. And somebody said, well, teaching business and teaching marketing and teaching all of these business things at undergraduate level shouldn't happen. That's not what it does. And my comment quite simply was, if you want to have a profession the other side of COVID, it's not going to be what's the next heel pain webinar I can go on, or what's the next kind of clinical skills thing I can go on. It will be, how do I run my business better? How do I make a profit? How do I market my business better? And how do people know what I do? And I think, Simon's question is absolutely spot on. It's a brilliant question.
Yeah, it's a great question. In healthcare economics, I remember being at the first transatlantic wound care conference in Galway. Must be 10 or 12 or 14 years ago now. Anyway, one of the topical guys who came on was a healthcare economist. And we were talking about diabetic ulcers and things. He was just like, this is pretty radical. Just lop it off, below knee amputation. That's it. That's healthcare economics. That costs $2.5 to $3 grand to do, and give them a prosthetic. Treating somebody with a diabetic ulcer, chronic ulcer, for 10, 15 years. Do you know the cost of that? Hundreds of thousands. He was like, lop it off. He was like, give them a below knee amputation, give them a prosthetic, and kick them out. Better quality of life. No, don't spend your whole life traveling to and from hospitals for wound care. When's it going to get better? When's it going to get better? Just lop it off, mate. That's pretty radical.
And that was very similar to the post I did on my personal Facebook wall earlier this week, which I know Simon commented on as well, where I was actually talking about the fact that I very nearly looked at amputation. Well, I did. I actually contacted a surgeon to have amputation in 7 years ago when I was 40 because of that very same thing. What are the longer term consequences of having a foot which doesn't function as well as it should do, with a previous history of ulceration? What's the longer term problems? So I think you have to consider every option. And when you have the numbers in front of you, when you have the data, and data is really important for this, to know not just how much it costs to treat people in this space, but what are the emotional, the social, the psychological, the familial costs which come with that? Because that's something we don't. I don't think we take it seriously. I think we don't measure it. We don't take it seriously when we do. So it's considering all of those options.
We're changing people's lives. You're changing people's lives. You're changing people's lives. You're not changing people's lives cutting their toenail. You are changing people's lives.
I challenge that, because I think that even the smallest thing, you can change people's lives. But you've got to. But that's a very, very small. That's a very, very small thing for us, because we do it all the time. Well, when we have those in practice, but for that patient, it could be a completely life-changing thing. It could bring mobility back where they haven't have it. It could reduce pain where they've had pain. It could mean they can put certain shoes on. So I would challenge that and say that it does change lives.
It does change lives, and it may save feet getting chopped off later on. But it's but again, back to like a profit. And before you came on, Kate, it was like, the turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. And I mean, we used to work out that a couple of practices, some of the practices were 3,000 or 4,000 just to open the door on a Monday morning. All those costs. And that was on the first podcast with Jerry Durham. We opened with, patients just don't appear like Aladdin in a puff of smoke. Poof. There's a cost for them to sit in the clinic in front of somebody. There's a whole cost associated with that, whether that's 70 or 80 or 50 or something euros, dollars, pounds, yen. It's and that was one of the first things when I was training people, I made clear that if there's somebody sitting for you that costs 75 euros to get there, yet they're paying 75, well, you're not making anything. So if they aren't going on to further treatment and they've got a long-term chronic problem that they've had for 3-4 years and we've pre-screened them and they're sitting in front of us, why aren't they then going on to further treatment? And that gets back to all your patient retention kit and your KPIs and all those sort of things. All those sort of things must be doing it. And if they're not able to do it, see you, Simon. He's off the school run.
I think what we're describing for me is, I think the financials are like an output. It's almost like, to me, like the musculoskeletal system of the business. You've created the business is a living entity with organs, with anatomy and physiology, and the flow, with Justin's describing how interconnected everything is. And the movement that's created, the speed that you can run, that you can ride your bike, whether you can move your shoulder or not, and that's kind of
the speed that you can climb a wall or not.
If you view it as the musculoskeletal outputs, then the energy generated, then you want it to be healthy. If you haven't got profit there, then something else is really important.
Sometimes it's also a mindset. I mean, it's a mindset. If you get people in, I'm 50 now, what are you talking about? I've got guys running marathons at 82 in Dublin. You get this mindset of people like, oh, I'm old now when they're 50 or 60. What are you talking about? You're only getting going. You're only halfway there. I am. Told you this before. It's
let's just take. We know you're a bit Bon Jovi with that, and that's absolutely fine. But let's take it back and let's look at what's that?
What's Bon Jovi with what?
You're halfway there, living on a prayer. Come on, keep up.
I was wondering how John Bon Jovi isn't that well?
Well, John Bon Jovi looked pretty good up until he was 50. Then I think he went downhill, but that's a whole other story. No, I think John Bon Jovi still looks pretty good. But anyway, what I was going to say is, if you're watching this, listening to this, whatever it is, and you're going, if you've got this far, then fair play to you. But if you, so even Simon's gone. But if you get to the point where you go, all of this stuff I know I need to address, but it's just not for me. What you need to do is go back and look at the chapter before, go back and look at the people chapter and go, right, if this isn't my sweet spot, who can help me with this? And what do I need to do to get that to work? Because, knowing the details, knowing the numbers, and even if they're not what you want is a great place to start. But if you then go, who can help me? And how can I use their expertise to help me? And how can my expertise help them? Then it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, I can help you. It took me years to figure out, and we've all made mistakes and all tried different variations of things. I mean, the stuff we used to try to do, and it is very, very simple. It's just the right words and the right words in the right order. The same words in a different order just makes people think differently. How would that make you feel if you weren't able to go and dance? How would that make you feel, Kate, if you weren't able to go and pick up or lift something? That makes you think, what they're fear of missing out of, rather than trying to scare them into it's going to be a problem. It's the missing out of. That's what people are there for after 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. Tell me about that again. But you've had that pain for 5 years, so why really? Oh, it's that good trip that I'm going to miss out on. It's my independence and mobility that I'm worried about. It's not being able to run and play with the grandkids. It's being made foolish that I'm not going to be able to keep up walking with the girls when I go hill walking next weekend. That's what they're worried about. It's not the pain. They've had that for years. Stop.
Do you know what, Justin? Do you know what time? Do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is?
It's still pain. It's all we're told. But this is the thing, we're told to treat pain. It's all about pain, and it's all about pain scales, and it's not about function and fear of losing what you're going to lose out on. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's what people are there for. When you
I think the word you're looking for there is animated.
When you realize that, and you just talk to people like that in a different way, and it's talk to your aunt. It's not scary, and and of course there is a cost to that, but there's also a cost.
Right. So today we've been talking about profit, and profit is critical for the health of your business, for the health of your community, and the health of your clients. So when you're thinking about the financials, making sure you're thinking about it as the health of your business and how it can make a contribution towards the people you want to be serving, and that includes you and your family, because your business is serving you and your family too. Dave has made the wonderful points about how profit can interlinks and interconnects with the rest of your business, and Justin's given us some examples of that. So if you start to view the profit you might choose to start to view profit as I do as part of the musculoskeletal output. It gives you a demonstration of the health of the business, and just as Dave said, if you can't figure something out, just go back a chapter. If you can't figure it out, who else can help you? But you must have a profitable, stable business for the sake of you, your clients, and your community. So there we go. And next week we are talking about the final chapter, which is
Clann.
What chapter it is?
Through this already. Has that been 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
Next week on whatever topic.
So what you're saying is Celia should have spent more time and written a longer book.
No, it means you can.
But I won't tell her that.
You can be able to. We'll be able to go through my book the week after.
Good.
Better get it.
Right. Okay. 8:00.
Time to go.
Look out for me ultrasound scanning my leg live on Instagram. And tonight, what the F is all this foot biomechanics about? 8:00, we're going to be demystifying and simplifying biomechanics, because it really isn't that difficult. especially when you well, I always like to simplify things. So that's on at 8 o'clock on my private Facebook Clann, if anybody wants to come. Okay, until next week.
Right, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.